Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I decided to dabble in the cottage living pack. I was really excited for this. I've been binge watching Lil Simsy, Deligracy, and James Turner since they had it early access. So I was really excited for this pack, and it never really occurred to me that I don't really know what I'm doing. Cottages are like so not my thing. Um, I feel like country-esque houses and stuff I can do, and I have done a lot of them, but nothing cottagey. So I originally aimed for this house to be a starter home, but by the end of it, it's like 29,000 simoleons, which isn't too bad for a two-bedroom, two-bathroom house. But yeah, it was just way more than I intended, and I had considered trying to delete some items to bring the cost down and maybe put out some more debug plants and things, but by the end of it, honestly, I was just done, and I'm not that familiar with the debug menu yet, so I find scrolling through it kind of overwhelming because I don't really know where anything is, and I don't know everything that's in it. I've been playing The Sims since Sims 1 was relevant, so it's been a long time, and I don't mean to age myself here, but yeah, for the longest time I just played the game. I didn't really build all that much, and it wasn't until maybe the last couple of years, like maybe 4 or 5 years, that I really got into building. And even now, I don't consider myself to be a very strong builder. I would say I'm better at landscaping and like interior decorating, which doesn't really show in this house because again, I was trying to keep it cheap. I was trying to keep it limited to just the base game and cottage living. So please don't judge me off of this house. But I did do my best, and I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. This whole debacle with the chimney was a huge pain in my ass. I kind of had it in my head what I was going for, didn't really know how to get it that way. So, and then here I'm just messing with it. I've got kids, and they're young. I have a 9-year-old daughter, a 4-year-old son, and a 15-month-old daughter, and they were watching me build. So sometimes I like to do like really silly things if I know they're watching, like make the chimneys enormous just to see if they notice, because I just think it's funny. You know how kids are. They'll be like, oh my God, whoa, what's that? So yeah. Anyway, so I do mess with the chimney for quite a long time. At this point, I've pretty much got it settled how I want it. The problem is that every time I placed it somewhere, I liked it from the side of the house or the back of the house, but hated it from the front of the house. So I kept trying to figure out a way to get it as close to how I envisioned it as possible. And this is what I ultimately came up with right here. I know it looks a little strange, and I know there's an easier way to go about doing that now, like having watched this back and being like, why didn't I just build the wall and raise the chimney up through it? Like, I don't have that answer for you. I didn't think of it in the moment. I don't know about any of you, but I personally have ADHD, so thinking on my feet, like thinking quickly on my feet, isn't one of my strongest traits. So being able to like go slow and like watching this over and over again during the editing process, I'm able to be like, oh, well, this would have been a lot easier, and I could have saved myself like 20 minutes of messing with these chimneys if I had just gone this way. But, you know, live and learn. The painting is something that I wasn't sure what I wanted to do either, but I ultimately ended up with this, with like the stone on the bottom and the wood on the top, because I wanted it to look like an old house. Not like old falling apart, but you know, old as if like maybe a Sim inherited this house from their grandparents or their great-grandparents, and you know, maybe the house needs a little bit of TLC and it could use some fixing up. So I wanted it to look old and obviously still keep that cottage feel. And then I wasn't quite sure how I wanted the fence. I knew I wanted it to be completely, well, basically like completely fenced in. And I really love this like old English stone fence, but in the end, I didn't feel like it was appropriate for this house. So I just went with this wooden fence that came with Cottage Living, and then the little gate that comes with it. I don't know why, like, is it just me or is it anyone else that when you're building, like, you get dumb to things? Like, I'm familiar with, the items in the game, but I still try out like the enormous gate on the tiny fence anyway, because my brain just doesn't realize in the moment that like, hey, this gate and this gate is huge, like it's not gonna work here unless that's the feel you're going for, which it wasn't. But yeah, I find I do that with a lot of stuff. I'll like try different things and like pull out different things, knowing that it's not what I'm going to need, knowing it's too big or too small, or even if you size it up or size it down, it's still not going to be right for the space. Like I'll still do that, and maybe it's just part of the creative process. I don't know. Yeah, this is my favorite part. I love doing landscaping on houses. Like sometimes I feel like I go a little bit overboard with it. Because I have a tendency to just fill an area with plants, and I don't often take into consideration like what kinds of plants are these? Would they be in an area like this? Like I'll literally just stick like flowers in the middle of a desert. Like I don't care. If I feel like it looks good with the house, I'll typically just stick it there and move on. But I did try for this one to use a lot of what I felt like would be in a cottage setting, and then also keeping the new world in mind. I wanted to try to aim for something that would fit in. Like if you just plop this lot down in Henford on Bagley, I wanted it to match because it's such a lush, beautiful map. So I really tried to keep plants a little bit more on the plainer side, a little bit on the, I guess, bushier, fluffier side. I wanted to use some of the new ones that came with the pack, obviously. And I tried to do like minimal flowers. Like, I don't know if you've noticed the lot next to this one, but that's one that I built a while ago. It doesn't have a video for it, but it is on the gallery. It's a micro home, but it's like filled with flowers. But I mean, that's its thing. Like it's a garden house. But anyway, back to this quaint little cottage. The windows were something that also kind of threw me for a loop because this house is so small, and I feel like the windows that came with the pack take up deceptively large amounts of space. So I felt like I was really committed to having a window next to the front door because I felt like that space was a little bit empty, and then ultimately decided, because the windows kind of bled into the framing of the door, that I would rather just go for plants. So I added the wisteria there, and I feel like that looks pretty cute. I do wish that there was a window that came with the pack as is that I could have just stuck there on the side, because I hate like open empty space on walls, and I don't know what that is. Like I have to exercise serious restraint when it comes to blank walls because I'm always wanting to just fill them with stuff. So having that plain wall there, I kept staring at it every time I was on the outside of the house. Like right now, I know I was working towards the front of the lot, but I guarantee you that I was like paying attention to that open spot right next to the door, thinking of how can I fill that? Because for some reason my brain just detests open space. And I like symmetry. So knowing that there was something on one side of the door and nothing on the other, I was just like, what can I put there? What can fill that space? So yeah. It's just a quirk, I guess. Are any of you guys like that? Like when you build, do you just struggle keeping empty space on certain walls. Like, it's not every wall. Like, as you can see, I'm not covering the entire exterior of the house with like vines, even though you could, but I'm not. So that was my solution. I was like, oh, I can move this light up and put a plant here. And ultimately, I think that looks kind of nice. I also really loved that rooster on the watering can on the crate. But then when I put a sim in the house to test it, I realized that that was more of like a pond or a fountain decoration. So the watering can just like sprays water constantly, and I didn't realize that, and it bummed me out to have to switch it out with something else because I honestly really love the way it looks and I loved it there, but it just didn't make any sense. Like, why would you have something that sprays water into the grass just in one localized spot unless it's a sprinkler? Like, you wouldn't. So I begrudgingly moved it out because I didn't want to add water there. I didn't want to put a fountain there or anything. I felt like it just wouldn't have looked right. So I changed it out with, I think, the gnome riding a hen statue, I believe. I love that statue so much. That's like one of my favorite things from the new pack. And I think you got it for pre-ordering it, or maybe I forget if you pre-order it or if you purchase the pack by a certain date, like by September or something. You get that. You get the bicycle with the basket that I have at the front of the lot, and I think the other one is like a large tree that has lights in it. That's really pretty. All right, moving on to the side and the back of the house. This, again, I had to fight myself with cluttering up too bad because it is such a small space behind the lot. I chose the smallest lot to build on. I find that I typically do that. Like, I'm very intimidated by the large lots, so I don't often, even though I have and they're on the gallery, like I do have larger homes and like semi like mansion-esque homes, but I don't often build them because I get way too overwhelmed with the large amount of space. And again, I don't feel like I'm a very strong builder, so coming up with creative ideas to fill the space is really hard for me, and then I get bored. So I guess this goes back to having ADHD. Like, if a project goes on for too long, I'll start to get bored of it. So I'll get, through doing the outside, and by the time we're ready to do the inside, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm over it. And I won't go back to the build for a very long time, if ever. So it's something I struggle with. So I usually stick to like small and like medium-sized homes. So this lot's very tiny. I forget the size, but it's only 1,500 simoleons. It's teeny tiny. So there wasn't a lot of space for me to really add much or to like go buck wild, which I guess is a blessing and a curse because this probably would have been overrun with crap if I was given that freedom. But I did want it to look like, I wanted it to have some growth. Again, it needs to fit, I feel, inside Henford-on-Bagley. So if it's just a blank green space, it's not really going to go all that well, or at least I don't think it will. So I added just a few plants here. There's some from the debug menu. And then I eventually add a back door that connects to that path. And then I think the foraging station ends up out there. But we're almost done with the outside of the house, which, again, I think it came out really cute. I'm really pleased with it. The new Cottage Living stuff is awesome. It's like, I don't know, so much of it is what I've hoped for so long. Now I'm just going through and checking to see what plants are like clipping through the walls and fixing that a little bit, moving them out. I chose to go with a ladder instead of stairs in this house for space reasons. I mean, you can see it is a very tiny house. The layout ends up working pretty well. It's a little bit tight when it comes to like a living and dining space, but it still works. It's still functional. Again, I wanted it to be like a very old home, and really old homes, you guys, are like not big homes. Like, most really, really, really old homes don't even have closets, and everything is very small and kind of open. So I wanted it to have that same feel. Like maybe this house was originally built in like the late 1800s or like very early 1900s, and it's just been maintained through the years. So there's not a lot of space. I don't know. That's just my thought for it. But I liked it. I did have a little bit of trouble, just like a smidge. Like I didn't realize with the ladders because I don't use them that often. Like I forgot that they were even there for a while because I typically just go right to stairs. And my ADHD brain is so fantastical that like when I'm building and I go into the stair menu, I just don't even realize that there's a menu right there for ladders. So I always just go to the stairs. So this is, using ladders is still fairly new to me, and I didn't realize that the sim goes up the backside of the ladder, which makes total sense. I mean, looking at it, there's a square, wooden trim around it, like an opening. So like that makes total sense. But at the time I didn't realize it. So I put a shelf in that open space next to the ladder. It's that cute shelf that I think it has like a watering can on it, maybe like a shovel, a jacket, something like that. I thought it was really cute there. It goes by the back door, I feel like it worked. But then when I put a sim in it, she couldn't get around the shelf to go up the ladder. And that's one of those things with this game that drives me absolutely nuts, is that your sim can't maneuver around a shelf. I don't know. It was on the wall. It seemed like it was out of the way to me, but she couldn't handle it. So I had to move it, and it eventually gets put by the front door. And there were a few things with this house, I think, that there was a little bit of pathing issues with. So I went through and fixed them. So it should be fine now. I played through it for a couple of sim days to make sure that it was playable. And we should be in good working order now. I had a little bit of trouble with this kitchen. It's so small. This is like the tiniest kitchen ever. And I was dead set on having the windows there. I didn't want the walls any higher. So I struggled putting cabinets in there because too many cabinets and it looks cluttered, but too little and I felt like it looked empty and unrealistic, I guess. So this is what I ultimately came up with. And again, because originally I meant to keep this as a starter home, I didn't go nuts with all of the decorations and like the clutter items, photos, things like that, because I was trying to keep it as affordable as possible. And even after I discovered that it was just a pipe dream keeping it a starter home, I didn't want to make it too overly expensive by going back through and decorating it the way I would have wanted to, because it is a tiny house, and it's not considered a tiny home, so you don't get the perks of any of that. It's just a small house. So I didn't want to make it this ridiculously expensive, super tiny house. So the clutter items are minimal, pictures on the walls are very minimal, like everything is just kept to the barest of minimums because I didn't want it to be stupid expensive. That's one of the pathing issues I ran into too, was Sims can't reach a mailbox if it's sitting inside of any kind of bush or flower. So I had to move the mailbox forward. There's me changing out the statue. God, I love that. It's so cute. That little gnome is having a blast. But yeah, when I popped into live mode with the sim, it was like set to winter. So I changed it to summer, but everything doesn't come back to life immediately. So everything looks dead right now while I'm going through and decorating the house. So I'm glad you saw it. I'm glad you saw it before that happened, because everything looks like it's in shambles right now. There's so many cute things that came with this pack. I'm so glad I had a place for that foraging station because I every time I see something, if I don't have space for it, I die a little on the inside because I'm like, oh man, I want to use all of the things because everything is so cute. I had issues moving these because the bathroom is so small. I couldn't get a good enough angle to like get them exactly where I wanted. I don't know why it worked with like the plant in this basket, but not with the candles. I don't know, but either way, I'm happy with the potted plant in the bathroom. There's the shelf. I guess I can see now how it was a little in the way. It's kind of bulky, but I felt like it just looks so cute there. I was very sad to have to move it to the front door, even though it goes there too. Probably goes there more so because the vegetable plots are right outside the front door, so I guess it makes more sense for it to be there. I had a hard time incorporating a dining space into this build because of how small it is. And then I have that tendency to work with move objects on, which doesn't help with tiny homes. Like, I feel like I should probably get out of the habit of doing that because it'll let me just put things wherever I want. As you can see, like the chair originally clipped into the wall and the game was like, this is fine. This is good. We can have the chair busting through the wall. Your sim can use it. It's okay. So yeah, I struggled with the space because like it's so small. And I know I've said that 5,000 times, and I know you have eyes and you can see how small it is, but oh my God. I mean, it's fine. It's meant to be a tiny old home, so it makes sense. I don't like the couch that came with Cottage Living. Like, I much preferred this base game couch. I felt like it just matched a cottage setting a little bit better. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me it looked better. The new Cottage Living couch to me doesn't feel like it belongs in a cottage. I feel like it belongs in like, I don't know, a penthouse or like a luxury suite or something. It's more like, I don't know, saying it's traditional just sounds like, well, why doesn't it fit? But I don't know. To me, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I feel like it sticks out like a sore thumb. I feel like it just doesn't belong at all. I don't know. Am I crazy? Does it fit? And I'm just like, does it fit? And I'm just, I don't know, an idiot? Like, you tell me. You tell me how you feel about the new couch. I find it really strange that you can put things on the very tippy top of the fireplace. Like, you can more easily fit things on top of it than you can on that little shelf on the front of it, which I find to be odd. And even though I wanted those books like in the middle, I didn't want to fight with it because they kept automatically jumping up to the very top, and I was just like, I'm done. I was at this build for, I want to say it took me maybe like 2 hours to build it. I had to do a lot of stopping and starting again because the kids were fighting and my littlest was napping, and I had to like quiet down the older two a lot. So you don't see it because I edited it all out and scaled it back to 30 minutes, but this took like 2 hours to build this tiny little thing. So I just didn't have it in me to mess with some of the more frustrating things because it looks fine as is. And again, adding too much just would have been a mistake because the house would have been more expensive than it rightfully needs to be. I love these new windows with the little pane that's like flipped open. Those are so cute. Do you compulsively save when you build things? I don't know if I've been burned by a computer that like green screens too often or like what. Like, I didn't always have a gaming computer, and before I did, running The Sims was a lot for it to handle. So it used to freeze and crash all the time. So I've gotten into the habit of just saving all the time, and I actually cut a couple of my saves out of the video because if I left them all in there, you would be like, oh my God, like, do you ever stop saving? You don't have to save after every room, but like, I feel like I do because I still hold that paranoia of, oh my God, is my game gonna just freeze and crash? And am I gonna green screen? Like, what's gonna happen? So I save all the time. Decorating these bedrooms kind of threw me for a loop a little bit because, again, I was trying to stay with items from base game and Cottage Living, so that's not typically my style. When I decorate, I do a lot of like modern and like contemporary, so trying to keep it looking old, like again, like your great-grandparents inherited it and it's been in your family for years and they were the last, you know, owners of the house. Like I was trying to keep it looking like that, which is just not my style at all. And I'm not even sure I like that bedspread with the walls, but I liked the dark wood. See, this is my problem with so many of the beds, is that I really miss The Sims 3 when you could just swatch everything how you wanted it. I really hate that that's not an option anymore, and I get it. Like, I'm sure it was a lot for people's computers to handle. I had a decent computer at the time of The Sims 3, and my computer sometimes had a hard time. Like, if we got into like a 2-story house, forget it. Like, it would take forever for things to load. And so like I understand not incorporating that in The Sims 4, but I do really miss it because I just feel like bedspread options are lacking. And I know that you can get like CC to help with that, but I don't know. I do so much building and I post to the gallery so often that I like to keep it to no CC because I've used CC a lot in the past, and I'll get into the habit of just using it because so many CC packs are just better than what comes with the game. So, or the color options of like existing items are just better, and I don't want to rely on things like that. I want my builds to be something that people can download without worrying about having to download extra stuff. I know how frustrating it is for me to download a house and find out that, oh hey, a bunch of these items you like, yeah, they're not actually in the game, they're CC, and you don't have any of that. So now you have to track it down, and like, I don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. Although I guess you could search houses on the gallery that don't include CC. So that isn't typically a problem anymore, but anywho, I wanted the upstairs and the downstairs bathrooms to match each other as much as possible. I used to do like different bathrooms in like different areas of the house, but I like to keep it semi-matching for consistency. Man, we are almost at the end of this build already. That's crazy. I really am happy with how it turned out. Which isn't to say that I'm not itching to get in there and modernize it. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Maybe add a basement to it. I love that new rug too. I wish we had more of them though. I wish the pack had come because I love a good rug. So, is that a weird thing to say? Yeah, I wish the game came with a few, or the pack came with a few more options. Not that that rabbit one isn't adorable, but I would have loved a few more. I feel like outside of like windows and plants, this pack didn't come with too terribly many items. I would have liked to have seen more items, but I mean, we did get all the animals. We can call on wild birds, and we've got bunnies and chickens and cows and llamas, which I felt was odd. Maybe that's because in America, I guess, like a farm animal, you don't typically think of a llama. Like you would think of like cows, pigs, horses, but not like cows and llamas. Is that, I don't know. Maybe that's unique to the US. I don't know, but I do like the llamas though. I like that they spit at the foxes, and I love a good llama in an outfit. Like when they have the glasses on, it's so stinking cute. I do realize, like, at some point that door is cutting through the wall and it's like half outside, half inside the house, and it does get fixed. I originally set out to make this room kind of like a teenager's room, and then thought better of it and decided it would be better as a child's room, with, like, you know, the wallpaper and everything. And I had the big teddy there, and I'm like, this is so much better as like a child's room. Okay, and here is the finished build. A lot is happening. I wanted to pop into the game to show you the finished build, but there's a lot going on. Our sim that's living in it currently is miserable. I mean, she's out in the rain. It's no surprise. She's not having a good time and she's hungry. I just remembered I added a couple of lot challenges to this, so I added, I believe, simple living, and what was the other one? So simple living and wild foxes. But then there's also, I have some perks. So I have gnomes one where they fix broken things, allegedly. Homey to make gardening, handiness, cooking, and mixology better. And then great soil for gardening. So it's not all bad. She just hasn't found her way yet. She has been in this house for a couple of days and she's like, I'm done. This isn't where I want to be. I don't belong here. I could kick myself for agreeing to take over this house when my grandparents died. I'm just over it. Get me out of this hellhole. I think with time she will learn to love it. Here is the outside of the house, which I feel like you already kind of got a good tour of already. So first things first, you come into the front door and you are in the living room and dining room area. I love these little mason jar lights. I love them so much. I want them in every room, in every house. Doesn't matter the style, I love them. Then you have the kitchen. Very small, but still really cute. It's just enough, it's functional. And then through this door here is the first bathroom downstairs. And then the back door leading out to this little area here with the foraging station and just a couple of plants, which you'll remember we placed from the debug menu. Upstairs, you come up the ladder and there's just this cute little alcove here. To the right, we have the bathroom, which is basically, you know, just like the one downstairs, essentially. Layout's a little different, but bathroom's a bathroom. And then you have master bedroom. Again, adorable mason jar light, because how could we not? I love this painting. It starts out really small. I didn't realize that when you make it big, it's kind of like, looks pixelated. But I mean, I guess if you back up, it's like a Monet painting, you know, far away. You're like, oh, okay. And up close, you're like, oh, it's a little smash together. I dig it. And then next to the master bedroom is the second bedroom, which is a kid's room right now. So we've got our beautiful, is that Victorian style dollhouse? I also kind of wanted to, because you know how I said that I imagined that this house was built in like maybe the 1800s, early 1900s? The 1800s were a terrifying time. Like, it was just a bad time to be a human. And so I thought that with this wallpaper and these bunny decals over this like Victorian style house, it just looked a little creepy. I don't know. Part of me wanted it to look a little creepy. Is that weird? Even so. Plus, if you really get a good look at the wallpaper in here, look at those rabbits. Look how creepy they are. Like, this wallpaper would be great for the paranormal stuff pack. Anyway, guys, that is the build for this tiny, quaint cottage house. If you like it and you would like to play it, give it that TLC that it so desperately craves, or make it into like an old style haunted house, you can find it on my gallery under atypical_Lotus. And if you do decide to play it, please drop me a comment. Let me know how you enjoy it. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.